Everybody's quilting journey is a little different. Where are you on your quilting journey? Let's have a conversation. Hi, I'm Roberta from Quilt Crafters Corner, and today I want to talk a little bit about that quilting journey that we are all on. So if this is something that interests you, please like the video. That lets me know that this is something that you're interested in. Also, if you're new here and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. So let's talk about that quilting journey. Everybody's quilting journey is a little different. You reach peaks and plateaus in your quilt journey. The peak is when you've just made that absolutely spectacular quilt that was just a stretch for you. It was a little bit out of your comfort zone, or maybe it was just a little difficult to do. And then you reach those plateaus where you just kind of go along. That's how my journey in quilting has been. I've been quilting for over 10 years now. And the person that I learned from back then, she had been quilting for about 20 years. So she's been quilting for a really long time. And she taught me the basics, enough to get me started and get me moving in the right direction. Now, some of my first quilts were a hot mess, let's face it. Everybody has a few of those. So let's take a look at a couple of the quilts that were some of my very first quilts that I made. Now, the first one here is the red and black, and it has the beautiful black and white centers that are supposed to almost be like flower petals. And my big mistake was I did too much red on the outside. The fabric that I chose for that outside border was not the right choice at all. And this is one of those things that took time and I had to learn how to do. Now, the first thing I learned to do was audition fabric. Now, I just did a video on auditioning fabric. I'll put a description or a link in the description down below for you to go check that out. It's a really interesting thing to be able to audition your fabric, and you pull things in that you would have never thought that you could use, and it just brings the quilt out. Now let's take a look at this second quilt. Now this second quilt I had the right idea, but I just don't think I executed it as well as I could have. I stifled my creativity a little too much on this one, trying to think inside the box, not outside the box. I wish that I had done a couple of things differently on this quilt, but overall, it was an effort to put pieces together to make them work together. And I could have done it a little differently. So I think with this one, I had really preferred if I maybe hadn't used the plaid around the teddy bear panel, and the string blocks turned out really well for what I used them for. So this leads me to, where are you on your quilt journey? Have you had one of those peaks where you've made that absolutely wonderful quilt and that you were really happy with? Or are you on that plateau where you're just kind of going along and you need a spark of creativity, a spark of imagination, something to put more into your quilts so that they show some of your joy and feeling that you have for these quilts? Now, most of the time when we quilt, we just kind of have a plan. We kind of plan things out. And so we're just kind of going along and put together one quilt. I have usually 5 projects going at once, just to kind of keep that level of creativity and imagination going in all of my quilts. If I'm just working on one, I have a tendency to say very much inside the box. When I've got 4 or 5 things going and I'm doing different things, I start to incorporate those and pull them in to some of my other quilts, just so that it really shows my personality, my creativity, and the joy and passion I have for quilting. One of the common enemies of quilters is time. We have all these ideas in our head and all these lists. I don't know about you, but I have a bucket list of quilts that I want to make. And I always let the stress of time think I'm never going to have time to do these all. And I've started to eliminate that time pressure. Take that time pressure away, make the quilts you want to make, and start to bring or pull your creativity, your imagination into each quilt. As you do this, it's going to start to give you that more sense of purpose, that more sense of joy, and the love that you put in every single quilt that you make. One of the best things that I ever heard is at the Houston International Quilt Show. I heard one of the, I think she was one of the quilt docents, just say, "Look at this room filled with love. Every quilt is just dripping with love." And I thought, wow, what a way to look at quilting. What a way to look at the passion, the creativity, the imagination in each one of those quilts that are hanging there on the wall. It's a sight that you know, it's hard to believe. And if you ever get the chance, go to a quilt show. Just open your horizons, broaden your horizons to new ideas, new creativity, new imagination. It's amazing what a quilt show will spark in, and it will also impact your quilting. It'll give you ideas. It'll give you things to go, ooh, I want to try that. So where am I going with all of this? Talking about your creativity, your imagination, and your passion for quilting. It leads me to talk about what's coming next for me. I really want to find that group of people that really want to take their quilting to the next level. Let's get that imagination and that creativity and share it with one another. This is to get us moving forward, to stop thinking about how to overthink things and maybe just start doing things. Start to go down a path that maybe you would have never thought of. Maybe change the way you think about things. Maybe go down a different path, a path less traveled, and maybe something that's going to really spark your creativity, your imagination, and your curiosity. What would this look like? What would that look like? And just start to play with more ideas to give your quilts that character that you are. Put your own personality into each and every quilt. If this is something that interests you about broadening your creativity, your imagination, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Leave me a comment below. I'd love to know where you get your ideas from, where the creativity for your quilts come from. So leave me a comment. I would love to hear what you have to say about this. And if you are curious about where I'm going with this, stay tuned because I have more exciting news for you. So until next time, keep quilting.